is where dad was right and where dad was wrong. And so we probably won't do this every time because, there's really
I can only come up with so many.
There's not many times I was wrong. And so.
Oh. Okay.
Hey there, and welcome to the inaugural edition of the Better Merch, Better Marketing podcast. It's our brand new podcast where we explore the latest in branded merchandise, marketing strategies, and industry insights. And of course, we hope to have a little bit of fun along the way. So it's all about creating better merch and build better marketing campaigns so that you can grow your business. So the Better Merch, Better Marketing podcast is brought to you by Hasseman Marketing, where we deliver marketing joy every day. I am one of your co-hosts, Kirby Hasseman, and joining me today is Jade Kreider. Jade, how are you?
I am so good. The sun is shining and I am in a pretty good mood because I'm inside in the warmth.
Yeah, because it's pretty chilly out there, right?
It's pretty chilly. It's 7 degrees today, so.
Yeah. We are sharing the bitter cold for sure. Mm-hmm. So we're in Ohio. Sure. Jade is remote and she works out of Colorado Springs at this point. And so we are excited to launch this. And so we have been talking about this for a long time. And so what we wanted to do today is kind of give you the inaugural edition. And so we felt like it was appropriate that the first topic is sort of, what the hell are we doing? Right? So we wanted to talk about what our goals are for doing the Better Merch, Better Marketing podcast. I'd like to get kind of the perspective of both of us. And that's really one of the points. So we want to provide you value and talk about cool marketing and cool merch and personal development lessons. But what I'm excited about is we've got Gen X, we've got Gen Z, we've got a father, we've got a daughter, we've got different perspectives. And I think we can have some fun with topics along the way. So what are you thinking about this, Jade? How do you feel about it? Are you nervous? Are you like, oh God, dad's making me do something else? Like, what are you thinking?
I'm actually kind of excited as one of the things I'll talk about later is I'm switching a little bit my role here at Hasseman Marketing. And so I think this is a kind of a cool way to get myself out there and just to talk about the things that I already enjoy talking about.
Yeah. And for those who don't know us, Jade and I have a pretty good relationship where we do crack on each other a decent amount. It's actually one of the things, if I'm being candid, that I love having Jade in the office. Amy, my wife and I worked together for a long time. And, one of the challenges with being an entrepreneur is that sometimes now I have a great team that are willing to talk to me and push back sometimes, but you need people in your ear who are willing to really say, hey, you're being a jerk right now. And not everybody wants to hear that. But I do. I actually do. And so Amy was that person and Skylar was that person. And Jade very, very, very much is that person for me. And so I appreciate that. So I think we'll have some fun with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what's your perspective? I mean, from it's been almost 2 years now, right? That you've been with Hasseman Marketing?
2 years in the end of January. So
so
hitting that mark.
Is that like, is it what you thought it would be working?
No.
Okay. Tell me about that.
No. I think I enjoy it a lot more than I expected. I truthfully thought this was going to be really boring. It was supposed to be a temporary job. Right. I thought it was going to be kind of boring. I didn't really understand it. And as silly as it sounds, shopping for people I say that all the time, but it's fun. You just get to be a human being and shop with people. And that's a really fun, it's why I love what I do. And working with my dad is cool because then I can be honest and yet also go, okay, I need you to be my boss here. Am I being ridiculous? And you do. And you tell me I am. I'm being ridiculous today. So it's good.
It is good. It's been really fun. I had a great deal of confidence you do well. You're a taskmaster by heart. But I think what I've loved to see is you've sort of grown in your confidence over the last, really, I would say 6 to 9 months. I feel like you went to LDC.
If you could quit it, you're really ruining all my points that I'm making later in this topic.
Okay, sorry. I apologize. Well, again, I think it's really cool that you've grown in that way. So it's cool for me.
Yes, for sure. It's definitely been a crazy year of development, I feel like.
Yeah. So what are we doing here? We want to talk about cool merch. We want to talk about father-daughter dynamics. We want to talk about small business. We want to talk about marketing strategies, and we want to do so in a fun way. And so I hope that you enjoy this. So let's move to our next topic. How about that? I think the next on the agenda was lessons from 2024. One of the things I think as we move forward, we're going to talk about maybe the lessons from last week as we all encounter different things that happen and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this happened. And I think sometimes those are great to internalize and go, oh, here's how I could have handled this differently. And I think that might be an ongoing topic. But we thought to start at the beginning of 2025 that we could look at lessons from 2024. And so I thought maybe, Jade, and we really didn't discuss this too much, but maybe we'd go back and forth.
I love it.
So maybe you go first, then I'll go with one, and we'll kind of go.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah. So my biggest one that I wrote down, and it's kind of a general one, but it felt like a really big one for me. If you don't know, I, again, am remote to Colorado. However, I spent 6 months of 2024 in Ohio living with my parents. They let me stay with them, and they let my German Shepherd come with me. So thank you for that. My biggest lesson, though, is how beneficial it can be to out of your comfort zone. It was very uncomfortable for me to come back to Ohio to begin with. It was very uncomfortable for me to go to LDC. It was very uncomfortable for me to speak at LDC. And all of these different things have actually caused different doors to open up that I never would have even imagined. For example, I'm speaking in Vegas next week. So many exciting things are happening. And it's because I put myself in situations that made me wildly uncomfortable in the beginning. So that was probably my biggest one. That actually my sister and I were going back and forth about how I was saying that 2024, I didn't do all that much. She's like, no, you did a lot. You pushed yourself all the way out of your comfort zone. And it was a really nice perspective to hear.
Yeah, I love that because I think it's like sometimes we push ourselves and sometimes we're pushed. And so, but embracing it either way is, I think what you're saying, there's a great lesson. So I love that one. For me, this is a weird lesson, but work from home can absolutely work, but I still like working from an office. And I bring this up because I feel like there's kind of an attack on the work from home. But during the pandemic, during COVID, I think people had to work from home, and we proved as a society we could totally do that and be productive and do things. But it was interesting because I feel like as soon as it got over, people were like, okay, let's go back to doing things the way that we always did it. And that's weird to me. Like I remember during the pandemic, we bought a property and we were at a beach vacation signing online and doing all of it virtually. And it was fine. And immediately banks are now like, oh yeah, you got to come back and sign. I'm like, no, we've proven we can do this. I don't know why we go back.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a little weird that businesses are absolutely forcing. I'm reading headlines every day. They're saying everybody has to come back. Everybody has to come back. And I feel like there's advantages both ways. And I feel like different people do well in different circumstances. So the lesson is, I think it can still absolutely work with the right individual. But I personally like to come to the office.
Yeah, that's a good one. You want me to do another one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm ready. My second one, this is very I feel very like a emotional roller coaster. Taking a step back doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. I went back and lived with my parents for the summer, and for a little bit, it felt a little bit like, I'm going back to mom and dad. Now, of course, I'm choosing. I didn't have to. However, I learned that, number one, it's not that bad to live with your parents. It's really, my parents are pretty cool. But also, it's just one of those where I was still able to do so much, grow so much, and I actually was able to challenge myself a little bit more in different ways. Whereas I love to be a homemaker and do all the little things. I wasn't doing that near as much. I was pushing myself so much more with work and just getting out there a lot more. So I thought that was a really big one for me, is stepping back doesn't always mean you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I would say the only caveat I say, your mom's really cool. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure about me.
It depends on the day. I like you both different days.
Okay. Fair. My next one is what you measure, you can manage. And this started really with sort of the weight loss journey and the fitness journey I've been on. Is I didn't really go into it that I was like, oh, I'm going to lose weight. I always like working out. But there was like a big, huge shift when I started measuring my weight every day, where I would literally get on the scale every day, because all of a sudden I was like, oh, I don't like that. And so it was immediate feedback and I could change it. And I then, after a couple months, was like, oh, well, I should be doing the same thing in our sales. I should be measuring the things that make a difference. So I was measuring, for miles and push-ups and different stuff on the fitness side. But then I start, okay, presentations, meetings, calls, and I'm looking at them every day, and it's made an impact. And so I think what you measure, you can manage. So that's my next one.
Okay, well,
Another
I
one?
came with 2, so you get to go
Okay.
again.
Okay, that's fine. So I have one more. And so that's good. Make sure to celebrate your wins. And I learned this kind of from the 20th anniversary. Whether you know this or not, Hasseman Marketing celebrated its 20th anniversary in November, December of 2024. And I'll be honest with you, we talked about it. I was like, do we really have to do something about this? Because we had just done our customer show. We'd done trade shows right before that. You were getting ready to move back. Like, actually, you had moved back to Colorado. And so it was just so much going on. And I think you were one of the people, and several people pushed to say, no, you do 20 years one time. You gotta celebrate it. And
it's a big deal.
Yeah. So we did a merch box, and we did a kind of a push and press releases and all that stuff. And I was really glad. It felt good, but it was also like, if I didn't do that, I wasn't inviting people to be a part of the celebration, and they didn't get to be a part of congratulating and I think it does add credibility to an organization. So, make sure to celebrate your wins. I think sometimes I don't do a good job of that. And so that's my final one.
That's a good one. I like that one.
Cool. Okay. So because it's kind of the beginning of the year, everybody's talking about goals. I felt like it would be good to talk about our goals. And before we started recording, we said we could talk about it one way or another way. Do you have a preference?
We didn't decide. I have goals written down, so it's up to you.
Okay. So I think where we landed is that we'll share a couple of our goals. And then obviously, if you're listening to this and you want to share your goals in the comments, or you want to let us know, or hold us accountable later on when you see us not doing this stuff, that'd be
there
great.
It is.
So yeah. So I've got 4. You want me to? I'll start, and then you
start, because I have 3, so that works.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the first one, I'll make this one quick, is we want to grow our sales at Hasseman Marketing. I think as entrepreneurs, as leaders, that makes sense at the beginning of each year. I've set some pretty aggressive goals for Hasseman Marketing, and it's one of the reasons that you're changing your role, and one of the reasons we're doing this podcast, all these sort of things. So number 1 was just to grow our sales at Hasseman Marketing.
Love it. My first one is going to be to get my CAS training. If you don't know what CAS training, it is a certified advertising specialist.
Nice.
So it's essentially just a way. I've been doing a ton of different classes on tips for sales and tricks, and and it's a lot about just be honest and be real, but it has tons of tips and tricks for finding different things. And so I think it's going to be a good thing to help me step forward in my career. It's kind of another little stepping block for me.
Yeah, I love this one for you. I'm really proud of you for chasing this one, because I think that this was a conversation we started a while back.
Yeah, I've been avoiding it for sure.
Well, no, I don't mean it that way. I just mean that you were coming to me going, hey, the people I admire are reading and being educated and growing, and how can I do that? And so PPAI, our organization, has the CAS program. And so you dove in and you did your TAS. Which
we really like abbreviations.
Yeah,
I don't remember what TAS is. Don't ask me.
Yeah, it's like
a lesser one.
Yeah, it's the first one, then the CAS. So anyway, I love that for you, just because you're trying to grow, and I admire people like that. My second one's the easy one, right? Like, it's launch this podcast with Jade. Check. No. There's one thing to launch it, then there's another thing to keep it going, right? I always say with content, it's not what you can create, it's what you can recreate. Mm-hmm. And so we've been talking a lot in advance of recording this of like, okay, so how are we going to do this? And how are we going to do this so that when we go, we can keep it going, because that's how content, I think, really works. And so that's one that I'm excited about.
My next one is kind of a different one. So I've recently taken on reading, and I read about like fairies and dragons and all kinds of fun stuff. However, and I've always set a reading goal of 50 books, because that's just what everybody else did. And so it's what I told myself I would do. This year I'm doing it a little bit different. So it's to finish this set of books right here, to read one of this set of books right here, because we found these really cool vintage books by Agatha Christie, and then to read 2 classical books and 4 self-help books. Nice. So rather than just reading just read 50 random books, I'm trying to target what I'm reading so that I'm actually making an impact. Now, ironically, I think it ends up being like 40 books, but it's besides the point. Yeah. So it's a little bit more of a specific challenge for me.
Yeah, it's intentional. right? Like
Yes.
I think that's great. Next up for me is I want to improve and renew my meditation practice. I find that when I'm thinking the most creatively, when I'm most at peace, I'm a fidgety guy by nature, as you quite well know. So this is something that I've really struggled with, but I do find that when I take the time to do it, it helps me. And so for me, it's continuing to do it, but also to find the time to build it into a routine. What I'm going to try and do is to do it right after I work out. That's what I've been doing probably for the last couple, 3 weeks, where it's like I get done, I'm gross and sweaty. I need to cool down anyway. And so I try and do it for about 5 minutes, and that's been good so far. So that's one I want to get going.
That's got to be way easier without a German Shepherd licking your face.
It's a little bit easier without Maverick, for sure.
Or barking at the deer that ran across the yard. Yeah. My next one is just to really, to say it frankly, just to get into this new sales role that I'm going to be taking on, and increase my own personal clients and put myself out there and continue to make myself uncomfortable. Again, that was my biggest lesson from 2024. So some of my goals are doing things that I'm not super comfortable with, like reading self-help books that put me to sleep. But so one of them is to really just like put myself out there, do all the phone calls that I don't want to make, stop in to see people, even though it's way out of my comfort zone, and just to really embrace that and make the most of it.
Cool. And the last one's a quick one. I've been on the fitness thing. And so I want to train for a half marathon. And I've done a dozen half marathons in the past, but I feel like I'm a person who loves to have like something that I'm chasing, something that when I don't feel like getting on the treadmill, when I don't feel like doing it, I don't want to show up. A half marathon is like, it's far enough you
can't not train.
Right. You could, but you're going to hurt. Right. It's gonna really stink. Whereas if you train for it, it's not that bad. And so, so train for a half marathon is that one. So that's cool. All right. Anything else? Kind of cathartic to get it all out there, right? Like,
yeah. Now everybody's gonna hold me accountable.
Yeah. Okay. So the one that I've been curious to get to, the next topic, because we said at the top that we wanted to have some go back and forth. I think there'll be times where Jade and I don't always agree on things and whatever.
Sure.
And so one of the ideas that we had, and I don't know what she's going to bring up here, so this is going to be fun for me, is where Dad was right and where Dad was wrong. And so we probably won't do this every time because, there's really
I can only come up with so many.
There's not many times I was wrong. And so.
Okay. Changing today's. Listen here, buddy. Wrong, right there.
But we thought this would be a fun one to kick it off with. So, where Dad was right, where Dad was wrong, go for it.
So, I said earlier that you were stealing all my stuff.
Sorry.
Say later. This is one of the things you were stealing. And however, I'm currently regretting saying this because I'm saying that Dad was right.
Oh, okay.
Even though I hate it.
Yeah.
I do like this job. He told me for years, since I was probably 16, since he used to drive me to school, so I would have been before 16, that I would have been good at sales and I would have been good in this role and that I would probably have fun with it. And I said, no, I won't. No, I won't. No, I won't. And life said, you gotta.
Yeah.
You're going to do it or you're not going to have an income. Try it out. Yeah. And I love it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I love my job. I'm very lucky. And so it's one of those where you were right, I was wrong. But I'm fairly okay with admitting that.
Yeah, I was going to say you were 14. Everybody's wrong when they're 14.
I was, 20 when I started, and I still didn't want to do it. So
no, I was trying to give you some grace there. But I will say that just as a quick, it was funny when we didn't live far from the high school, but Jade didn't want to ride the bus and she didn't want to walk. And so my deal with her was I will drive you, but I get to pump you full of positivity every morning, which is exactly what a 15-year-old girl wants. And so we probably have a little more material than we think here.
Yeah, you're probably right. Because I mean, every day, people, every day.
Every day. For
and
sure.
I'd say, Dad, that's great.
Well, because there was a point where she would say, I don't want to hear this today. I'm like, the walk is not long.
Yeah, he did say that a lot. It would really aggravate me.
Yeah. So okay. Weird. Well, that was a good one. That's a good one to start on. And then final thought, this isn't in the agenda, but one of the things that Jade and I've said is we really want to give shout outs every episode that we can, where someone's doing something good, something inspires us, somebody, there's an event, there's a client doing something. And so we want to do that today. And I think we're going to probably take turns on this, but today it's on me. And I want to call out the Friends of the Park 5K, 10K, and half marathon. They kind of did me a solid. This is going to be the 4th year. Friends of the Park is a nonprofit organization in Coshocton County that raises money for our parks. We actually are a small community, but it's a really great park system, great running trails, amazing. And so this is the 4th year they've done this race. There had never been a half marathon in our community before, so I was really excited. I think I've done it every year. And so they literally just announced it within the week. Last year they had 255 runners, which is a really nice size for Coshocton County. I think it raises over, around 10 grand a year. I'm not on the committee. I don't know that, but that's a nice amount of money for our park system. And so they do a great job. If you are listening to this and you're close to Coshocton or in the Ohio area, it's a really nice flat course for the most part. And you can register at dkraces.com. So it's a really great race. You raise money for the parks in the community, and it is the weekend of Easter. So it's the Saturday before Easter Sunday. So nice. They do a great job, and I love it. So, okay. 20 minutes in, we
did good.
We made it this far, right? If you have made it this far with us, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you kind of taking this journey with us, and just understand we're going to get better. We'll have new topics. The thing I would encourage you to do, 2 things. Number 1, if you have topics you want us to cover, any questions you want us to answer, any things you want us to, if there's a back and forth you want to hear, on our opinions on things, we'd love topics because we're going to do this on a regular basis.
And I love to tell Kirby he's wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. So she really...
Oh, okay. Continue.
Number 2, shout outs. If you have anybody you think we should be shouting out on the podcast, man, we would love that too. Our goal is to deliver marketing joy. And if it's not marketing joy, any joy will do. Thank you for listening. Any final thoughts, Jade?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. All right. Well, again, thank you for listening. Again, Better Merch, Better Marketing is brought to you by Hasseman Marketing. If you want to learn more about Hasseman Marketing, you can do so at hassemanmarketing.com. We'll see you next time.